So notice on the display I had a pause button. So I can either choose to stop the cycle completely, the blast gun will travel back to home, and the cycle will then cease. Or if I want to open up the door, look at my part, and I want to resume, I then hit the resume button. So this is just an extra feature that we want to offer in this machine. Notice the machine stops when we open the door. So the door must be closed. That's definitely one safety feature along with the e-stop button. Once I close the door, I can hit door reset and our blast gun will travel back home. So in the different motion options, we have what's known as rotary step, index step, a touch-up feature, and then also just basic motion options to move the Z-axis up and down, and then to also traverse the turntable. So rotary step, what that means, basically what we do is enter a part height in inches, how far up we want the blast gun to step throughout each duration in the cycle. We can enter a rinse time. At the end of the cycle, the part will automatically rinse based off of how long you tell it to. So currently we have it at 10 seconds. And then you also have to input your turntable rotations. So basically after however many rotations that you tell this machine, the Z-axis is going to step up after that many rotations. That's why we call it rotary step, because it's rotating and then it's going to step up depending on how many rotations that it requires. And then lastly, you can enter in how many cycles you want it to do. So once the cycle is completed and you have a 1 entered into this value, the gun will go back up to the home position, blasting will be ceased. But if I have a 2 in there, it's going to come back down and do that cycle all over again. 3, 4, so on and so forth. Depending on how many cycles you tell this thing, that's how many it's going to do. So that is rotary step. Next we have index step. Index step is where the Z-axis comes down, it starts its blasting cycle, and then it has a dwell time. So it's going to dwell for 5 seconds, travel up, continue blasting, 5 seconds, travel up, continue blasting, 5 seconds, until it reaches the height of the part, which is 16 inches. And then after it's reached the height of the part, it comes back down, and then the turntable indexes 10 degrees. It does this until 360 degrees of this part is completely covered. That's when the cycle then stops and it begins the rinse cycle. The last feature is the touch-up feature. So with this cabinet open, I'll just go ahead and show you. We can engage the touch-up feature, and then we can jog our blast gun down. When I say jog, that means we can move down, we can move up. I can turn my turntable to a certain spot that I don't like. Okay? That's the spot that I want to do. If I shut the door and hit the start button, it will begin blasting for this time duration that I have entered. So that time duration being 30 seconds. This thing would blast for 30 seconds, and then after it's done, we would know that it's done. Motion options are basically just a reference point for the machine. So if we shut the door, it will allow us to move our blast gun up and down, turn our turntable. Basically, it's just a reference point for the blast gun, for the turntable, just in case, worst case scenario, something ever happens and you're stuck in this certain position, but you need the blast gun to go back home. Also, if you want to turn your heater off in this machine, your application does not require heat. You just simply turn it off. If you want to turn the heater on, I advise it, just turn it on. And also notice that when we engage a certain type of motion, it displays on our operation options screen. With that one engaged, if I go to this page, notice I can't engage it. I can't engage touch-up. So that's another feature. Also notice that throughout the duration of the cycle, we see that we're in cycle 1 and we have yet to step up because that value is still 0. Every time the gun steps up, that value will change, and it'll tell you what step number you're on. That way you know exactly where you're at in the process.